It was a long time ago back when I was rebooting and I was riding on a pretty good NoFap streak. Well, for me it was actually more than a good streak because this time I had managed to go far above and beyond what I was normally capable of doing at that time. It was summertime, I was feeling great and I was on day 86. The last few weeks I had really noticed how my confidence and my energy levels had stepped up not just one but even several notches. So there I was, free from my work, sitting at my kitchen table, thinking life sure is good at times. I was feeling so strong and so good and confident, above all, confident. That confidence was crazy. My plan was to give up adult sites forever, but I had still set a goal of reaching 90 days, just as a milestone. And since my vacation was here and I had no work tomorrow, I started thinking, hey, you've been so good. You're already at day 86 and within just 4 days you will hit the big 90. Don't you think it's time for a small reward? And sure enough, I jumped on my bike and visited the nearest pub just 1 mile away. I sat there at an outside table. The weather was so warm and I was really enjoying life right then. So after a couple of hours, I decided to go back home. Best not drink too much here. And so I did. But even though I hadn't had that much to drink, my sleep quality was horrible that night. Which, by the way, is very common even after just 1 or 2 drinks. And to be honest, I might have had a bit more than just 1 or 2, more like 3 or 4. I still wasn't drunk, but man, my sleep was bad. And when I woke up the following morning on day 87, I didn't feel like exercising. So I gave myself permission to take a day off from that. A few hours later that day, my friend called asking if I was down for grabbing some food. And hey, I needed to eat something anyway, and I was on vacation and had no work, so of course I said yes. Well, we grabbed some burgers and fries, and after that we had a coffee and a few donuts on top of that. So there I was, having been out drinking yesterday, skipped exercise, and now I was stuffing my face with all this unhealthy food here. I mentioned that to my friend and he just immediately brushed it off by saying, "Are you crazy? It's summer, your vacation just started, and here you are feeling guilty already. Relax, my man." And I knew he was right in the way that I've always had a tendency to be too self-critical. I had to let loose a bit, I thought to myself. After all, I only have a couple of weeks of vacation in a whole year. "That's right," he said. "Let's go out and grab a few drinks." "Well, okay then," I said. Now, I was well aware of the slippery slope there, so I figured I'll just have 2 or 3 beers before calling it a night. And so, hey, I actually did manage to stop after 3 beers. And so after that, I went back home. The next morning, I skipped my exercise again and started thinking I can give myself a couple of days off from exercising. Perhaps my body might need the rest anyway. And then I can start again on day 91 after I've reached my big NoFap milestone. Well, sure enough, I didn't do any exercise at all that day. I had nothing planned for the day, and since I now didn't have any work, I just spent my whole day playing some stupid online games, and I was basically just aimlessly drifting on a digital dopamine stream. And sure enough, I started feeling pretty strong urges that day, and so no, I didn't relapse. The next morning, I woke up to day 89. Only 1 more day to go before I reach the big 90, I thought with excitement. Once again I skipped the daily exercise, and once again I spent my day by sitting at that damn computer. And for some reason I was having urges again. I had not really had any trouble with them during my 3rd month in general, but now they were back, even more intense than yesterday. And so then, in a weak moment later that day, the addiction voice started whispering, "Hey, you're basically already on day 90. What difference does one day make anyway? Just take a short reward and then we'll continue like nothing happened after that. And all these years later, I'm even now a bit embarrassed sharing this with you today because yes, I actually relapsed on day 89 when trying to reach a 90-day goal. Now, that's both sad and funny and ironic at the same time. Now, there were a series of events that led up to it as well. Yes, my plan was to quit using adult sites forever, but in my mind, I don't think I had fully come to terms with the idea that I would actually never watch it again. And since I hadn't fully come to terms with that, the upcoming Big 90 made my mind start to play tricks on me. And I just gave myself permission to act out, somehow forgetting that 90 was actually not the end goal, but just a milestone. And the addiction voice managed to fool me with, hey, it might be day 89 now, or maybe it's 90. And it's so little difference anyway. You might perhaps just be a couple of hours away from day 90. So what's the difference? Now, the thing is, in terms of rebooting, that is actually true because it's not like it's an on-off thing, in that the first 89 days you are, quote, off, and then suddenly on day 90, everything gets switched to on. No, that's just crazy thinking. Not in that way, but in another way still. Yes. And so what do I mean here? Well, let's say I had to have a relapse right around there, which I obviously didn't have to, but just to be philosophical here for a moment, let's say I had to log in a relapse either on day 89 or day 90. Would there have been such a big difference, really? Well, not in terms of dopamine, and from a neurobiological standpoint, hardly any difference at all. And it's not like one single relapse has to be that bad either. But since I had 90 days as a milestone I really wanted to reach, I shouldn't have let myself down like that. Because whenever you break a promise to yourself, you are forming an identity of that of a person who can't commit to what he sets out to do. And if you keep doing that, it becomes easier and easier to just let yourself down in the future as well. You become what you practice. Now, there were a series of events that happened here as well. The first one was, well, me getting a vacation, and I got a taste of some instant dopamine. And that spilled over in wanting to do some more instant gratification stuff, which spilled over in wanting to do even more instant gratification stuff. And so that is probably also why I got more cravings than usual the last 2 days before I was about to reach my 90-day goal, simply because I had woken up the sleeping dopamine bear. And now that bear was on the hunt for more dopamine. Anyway, there's much more I could say about what happened. For example, my biggest issue was that I had not fully let go of the porn. A small part of my brain still thought I would go back to it and that my streak was just a temporary thing. But I'm not going to talk more about that right now, as I just wanted to share this story so that you guys get to see, oh man, I have indeed had all kinds of streaks in my days. So consider subscribing for more. And speaking of not fully letting go of the adult sites, I have made a video about that as well that you can see right here. So if that's something you think you're dealing with, make sure to check it out by clicking on that video you can see on the screen right now.